Hi, my name is John Avnet, and I'm the director of Fried Green Tomatoes, formerly Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, based on the novel of the same name by Fannie Flagg. This first shot of the movie was a very important shot to me. And when I first wandered through the town of Juliet, Georgia, which is where the Whistle Stop Cafe is set, I saw this pond and the corresponding lake, which you will see in one moment in the background. And it was something that wasn't in the book. It was something that I hadn't imagined. And it gave me a real sense of the town, of the world. And part of what I liked about this shot was seeing something coming out of the bottom of a body of water and basically creating a visual question. And then seeing this dam in the distance, which is used in a very special way later on in the movie. The movie itself was completely inspired by Fannie's book. And as a matter of fact, the first thought or image that came to my mind while I was reading the book on the plane to Europe many years ago, I guess it must have been in 1987, before the book had been published, was I kept imagining this train that used to go through this small town of Whistle Stop, but which in the present tense was no longer going through the town. And I had this image of what I used to refer to as the ghost train. And it became the central image for me of the movie, because when Kathy Bates' character arrives in Whistle Stop in the present, the beginning of the movie, she hears something that nobody else hears. And it just reminded me of the many times in my many travels and the locations I've scouted for my movies that I've driven past or flown over or walked through towns that are ghost towns, that are deserted, whether they're factories or small towns. And most of the time I just never wondered what was there. I never stopped to listen. And Kathy, in my mind, her character, was an unlikely person who was in a way chosen to hear this tale, chosen to hear the voices of the past, someone unlike most of us, who had a curiosity, however unlikely, about what did in fact happen in this town. And here was one of the images of the ghost train itself. It was kind of difficult to figure out how do you shoot something you can't see. Obviously the leaves and the goat were ways of manifesting something that's not there. But this shot was the one that was a little piece of magic. It was a reflection of a train that actually passed there when we were shooting. And it was a little piece of magic to me. We didn't plan it. We were shooting something else. I think we were shooting the leaves. And a train, in fact, came by, and I wanted to shoot the leaves that the train actually moved. And then I saw that reflection, and I asked the cameraman to pan over to the window. And we caught that little piece, and I thought that was quite serendipitous, to see something in reflection, something that you're not sure of. And then we begin our story of Kathy and her husband, Ed, Gaylord Sartain. Kathy has a wicked sense of direction, which is probably true in real life, too. One of the things that appealed to her about doing this movie was she had a great burning desire to wreck a Volkswagen. Probably because of her then boyfriend, future husband, who had one for many years, or so she confessed to me. She also had a great desire to work with Jessica Tandy, as did I, and as would any sane thinking actor, director, producer. Jessica was just an incredibly special woman who made all of what we do feel so dignified, because she carried herself with such dignity, and was just the pro's pro, as is Kathy, and they were just perfect together. One of the fun things with Jessica was doing her wardrobe. Elizabeth McBride, the costume designer, found these great sneakers and socks for her, and I thought, that's perfect for Ninny. With Kathy, the wardrobing and the hair was really key. When she came down to rehearsal while we were shooting, we had selected a wig and had it made up. and had bought some clothes for her. And I was in the middle of doing the normal pre-production chores. And I got a call to come and see Kathy, and I walked these stairs. Down at the bottom of the stairs was Evelyn Couch, not Kathy Bates, wearing this big wig and this house dress. And I went, wow. And there she was, and there she is, munching away on those candy bars, trying to decide whether she should eat in front of Jessica, which as a director is sort of what the scene was about to me, whether the desire for food overrode her curiosity about what Jessica was saying at this very moment. This was the first scene that we shot between Jessica and Kathy. It came after we had shot the entire past portion of the movie with Mary Stewart and Mary Louise and Cicely and the whole crew, Stan Shaw, Rain or Shine, Gary Basaraba, great bunch of people.
Just soon she gets settled in good. Does the name Itchy Thread Good ring a bell?
And Kathy's, I think, from Tennessee. I'm not sure exactly, but I think I remember Tennessee. So she really got the southern world. And in that world, politeness, especially to someone older than you, is a very, very big thing. So as you can see, she was having a hard time deciding when and how to bite that candy bar. And she gets it. And now Jessica begins to unweave a spell and to tell the story of her life in Whistle-Stop, the town that Kathy had just passed by.
I remember the day they pulled that truck up out of the river.
And we repeat that image from the beginning of the movie. I always loved the way those two lights came out of the water, and they were sort of like bug eyes. This was a wonderful reveal on a very rainy day in Juliet, Georgia. Rained all the time. We had 16 days to shoot there, and it just rained and rained and rained. This was the stunt that Chris O'Donnell wanted to do, but of course couldn't do it. But through movie magic, it looks like he did it. And if he's around, he'll tell you he did it, because he likes to boast about his athletic prowess. And this is a house in Sonoy, Georgia. Looks just like that. All we did was take all the telephone poles down, put dirt all over the road, get rid of all the signs. That wood bridge is standing and functional. There are rail tracks that are there, not used, not operational, but they're there. This was a kind of fun shot. It was a 360 Steadicam shot. I think Bobby Hewlin was the Steadicam operator, where we got to see the whole world, the whole house. And this house figures very prominently throughout the movie, so I wanted to establish it right away, as well as introducing a lot of our characters, and there were a lot of characters. Fanny wrote a lot of characters, and we put them in the screenplay. And this is the introduction of a little Iggy, our erstwhile Nancy Atchison. Nancy was a trooper. Because I was hoping to be able to make the connection between Little Iggy, Middle Iggy, which is Mary Stewart, and the possibility that Jessica Tandy was Iggy as well as Nene, I had young Nancy and Jessica wear contact lenses so their blue eyes would be brown.
Stop it right this second.
It was extremely difficult for our little young Iggy here, with her temper and all. As a matter of fact, we had to have a optometrist on the set make sure that her eyes weren't getting too irritated, or if the contacts came out, had them put back in without hurting Nancy. And she was a trooper. Chris had worked with me on Men Don't Leave, so I called him up and told him I had a role for him, see if I could make him look like an actor again. And he was game. He came on down after working on his accent a little bit. And he was, I think he was really wonderful casting, because the audience seemed to really like him and buy him. And he created enough of an image that he was memorable, because he was such an important part of Iggy's life. Plus, he was just one hell of a clown. And everybody had a great time. Because if you had a problem, just yell at Chris, chase him down. Whatever you did, you knew you'd get a funny response out of him. As he likes to say about the mountains, he's the dominator, which means he can't ski, but he thinks he can dominate the mountains.
Guy comes along, he sees one, he says, I think I'm going to make that one different.
And this was up in the little tree. It wasn't such a little tree, about 20 feet up in the air, which is not the easiest way to shoot things. It was hot, and there were bugs. It was hot every day we shot down there. Those rouge cheeks on little Nancy are from the heat, not from makeup.
He never makes mistakes. I mean, he made sure we got
And this was one of the first of many stories that were told. It was the nature of this story about storytelling. That the telling of the stories and the purpose of telling of the stories and the creating of these little local myths that created a larger myth were very important. One of the challenges I had as the director and in the writing I did on the script was to try to create a character who was larger than life. And in the way when I studied with Joseph Campbell at Sarah Lawrence, I was trying to define what a mythical character was. And it seemed like someone who was larger than life and basically immortal. So these little tidbits in the past were important, even though everything she did was sort of annoying, this little Idgie. But they were very typical of many kids, very memorable. So that by the time we make the transition to Mary Stewart playing the character, you've already got a sense of history. This was a great day. A lot of food. And my son Jacob, a very young Jacob, stealing food from Sipsy, and there's my whole family, as well as my first assistant director's daughter.
I don't think there ever was a sweeter boy than Bertie Threadgood.
You look beautiful today, Lily.
Now we see Chris being charming, something that's not difficult for him to do.
He was a terrible flirt, but his heart belonged to Ruth Jameson. Now, she was the daughter of a friend of his mama's.
And we introduced Mary Louise Parker, who was just one sweetheart. The background, of course, is my daughter Alexandra playing the violin. Probably ended her violin career. And here we are back at that dam with our three principals. Now, this was a very difficult shot to do because every weekend that we tried to shoot it, there was too much water going over the dam, so we couldn't walk anybody on it. And the actual scene you see here with the dialogue was shot someplace else. But this was the first telling of the story of that lake over there in Georgia. And again, trying to create this myth about Idgie Threadgood. And Idgie's myth comes from her brother Buddy, so it has an emotionally tinged quality to it. Even though the story itself always struck me as just ridiculously silly. But there's some gold in that silliness that Fanny wrote, and I tried to preserve it. I love this image. This was a frame that Jeffrey Simpson, our DP, pulled out. Just a beautiful, beautiful frame. And now we tell the story of the hat. This hat was one pain in the butt. Because if you ever try and make a hat, do what I tried to make this hat do. Good luck when you have a whole film company standing around. We tied a little piece of monofilament, which is like a fishing line, and tried to pull it, but I wanted it to roll like, see how it rolled on its brim? You try and do that. Chris was just wonderful chasing after it. It took us about 4 or 5 hours just to shoot these insert shots. We had no luck with the weather. It was sunny. We had originally shot the big scene on a cloudy day, and then there was this one little cloud in the sky. And our key grip, Scotty Lethbridge and Alan Rollins, saw it, and we were off running after that hat. And we got 1.5 takes because of these guys being so heads up. Georgia boys. It took forever to get this train onto these tracks. I mean, the clearances were really, really difficult. But the sequence worked out well. A combination of the stunt guy and Chris. The stunt guy stuck in there way too long for my taste. But it was his call. If it was up to me, he would have been out of there much quicker. The other interesting thing to me was there's a real stunt guy in there, real time. This was a little trick shot. Now, one of the things that made that sequence to me work was getting those boots with the high lace, so they gave it a real nightmarish quality. And I remember having the hardest time convincing the costume department they had to have these lace-up boots, and they told me how expensive they were, and Went through forever just trying to get these stupid boots, which I knew existed. But they really gave this sense of nightmare. Just like getting your foot stuck in a rail. I mean, it's something that probably doesn't happen that often, but if it did happen, it would happen in a dream.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
And here we are on a nice 100-degree day with 100% humidity. I think 20 of the extras passed out in those wool costumes. Of course, in another location, shooting Little Itchy.
Everyone thought she'd die right along with them.
Cicely Tyson was such a wonderful addition to the cast. I had worked with her on Heatwave, we did for Turner, about the Watts riots, and it was a pleasure to be reunited. This was a great piece of serendipity. That's actual lightning
She stayed.
that you see in the background.
Big George is the only soul.
We were shooting at the dam, a thunder was coming in and lightning, and it was only a matter of time till it was going to rain.
You know,
But unlike spending thousands of dollars on a digital effect, that's the real thing. It just added a kind of touch of verisimilitude that I always was really happy that it was there. And we're back to Jessica Tandy's Sneakers and Socks, courtesy of Elizabeth McBride. And Kathy has gotten a little bit caught up in the story.
Would you like one of these?
thank you, honey.
Evelyn? Honey, we gotta get going. The Braves game's fixing to start, and you're gonna miss
I always identified with the character of Ed, that Gaylord's playing there.
That's my husband, Ed.
Sort of a boorish husband, as I often am. Coming home and watching football, baseball, basketball.
But he died.
Neither could I.
Jessica always would remind me that one of her good fortunes, as she said, was having a nice smile.
Evelyn,
I think that Jessica was the queen of understatement. Not to mention the fact that she was so professional that she wouldn't even drink or eat while she was shooting. I, of course, made it my goal to get her to drink a glass of water.
I want you to truly
This was a fun scene.
yourselves to finding
This was on a set in Sonoy, Georgia.
magic that's
And there's Fanny Flagg.
your marriage. When we think of romance,
I mean, Fanny was a performer before she became a very talented writer.
divorce. Remember when marriage counselors used to tell you to wrap yourself in cellophane to put a little charge into
This was something that I dreamed up pretty early on in the process. When I was a kid, I remember this high school friend of mine, Walter Moore, singing What Becomes of the Broken-Hearted. And it just struck me as the perfect music for what Fanny had written. Some woman dressing up in cellophane. I just love... I mean, look at Kathy. She's acting with her toes there. And Elizabeth McBride made a great cellophane dress. And there's Kathy, all smiles. Just made me chuckle, that song. It's kind of soapy.
Evelyn, are you gone insane? My God, people can see you.
I love Gaylord's fear about the paperboy showing up.
Thinking about
Part of what I liked about the song was that it so beautifully deals with adolescent longing,
Evelyn,
which, curiously enough,
you know,
is Evelyn's state of mind.
instead of this baloney, it's
Longing.
an assertiveness training class for Southern women. But that's a contradiction in terms, isn't it?
I think it's actually an oxymoron, assertiveness training for Southern women. So now we have a recapitulation of the moment in reality, with the same song playing. So now we have Paul Young singing What Becomes of the Broken-Hearted, which replaces Percy Sledge, I think, who did the original. Now this is a wife, you know? She hands you 6 beers. You go into the house. I mean, this makes chauvinism into a whole nother category. With that big smile on her face, and she just chases after him. How could you not adore Kathy? There it is. Sports. The opiate of the masses.
Why don't you come in and sit down at the table and have dinner with me?
I'm sorry, honey. The game's almost over. I just want to see a little bit of it. Why are you so dressed up? Honey, don't get in the way there. Just scoot over.
There's a sweetness to this relationship. He's so nice the way he says, don't get in the way of the TV set. I like that.
If I'd answered
This was a relationship that wasn't as developed in the book as we need to do in the present tense. It was something that I spent a lot of time on the writing. I was looking for something that caught, in a kind of apocryphal way, many relationships, the kind of ennui that settles in, so we would understand where Kathy's character is coming from. Right there, she's coming from Krispy Kreme, which is as good a donuts as there are, and the food and the donuts in the South and the barbecue is beyond belief.
Hi, sugar. How's my little dumpling? Now, you're not gonna go throw one of them hissy fits, are you?
That was Gaylord's improv hissy fit. I spent about 4 months doing research, living in the South, listening, trying to get the voices and the feel there. It was great to have actors who could also ad-lib, both in character and in dialect. And could eat Krispy Kreme take after take after take after take.
I was hoping you'd be here. My roommate, Mrs. Otis, said I could stay and visit with her and her family, but I said thank you kindly, but I think I might have my own business.
Now, is that one enchanting woman or is that one enchanting woman?
And donuts.
The character that Jessica's playing actually had a real-life counterpart for us, which was a woman named Ollie Denny, who was at this actual nursing home, who'd been there 11 years, I believe, and she was so full of life, this woman. It was just, the optimism was almost unbearable. It just made you feel slight in your own world for all the petty worries and things that bother you. And that's essentially what Jessica's playing here. And part of why I think she was sort of such an overwhelming presence. It's so difficult to be positive in our world, which is full of such negativity and such a rough lot. But certain people and at certain ages, they reach a place. Maybe the place was sort of the Whistle Stop Cafe in her mind, but it was really a place in her soul. It was a very spiritual place, and it was a place that Jessica was in. Jessica had just come back from chemotherapy when she was doing this movie. She had no hair. She was wearing a wig. And yet she had an appreciation of life that was enormous, and I think it comes out in her performance, and it came out in being with her.
Then one summer day,
And I always felt that her voice could take us to this place, take us to the honey, take us to the past, take us to the dust, take us to Mary Stewart now playing Idgie, carrying a bunch of fish as she walks past Frank Bennett and the car we saw in the water in the beginning of the movie.
And who might you be?
I think Jessica really added some magic with her voice,
Then it's the name
with her presence.
Tawanda.
I think Mary Stewart and Mary Louise
Say you are looking mighty fine today.
added a lot to make that magic work. It's Nick Searcy playing Frank Bennett. He was a local actor, we read. I liked him. We hired him. Lois Smith playing Mama Threadgood with Cicely.
You don't look like the wild man of Borneo. Oh, here you go. Thank you. Guess who's here? Who?
So we begin the story in the past where we now see the reunion of Idgie and Ruth. Idgie now grown.
Is that why you wanted to see me?
Well, we have so many nice things planned. Ruth.
I mean, this was a desperate mother's attempt to try and tame her daughter. Like many parents, you run out of ideas and you look elsewhere. And she looked to Ruth.